Hi, I'm JAMm, and I'm gonna get real for a second. Pokemon Rumble World for the 3DS is actually a good game. The 3DS, easily one of, if not the best, handheld system of all time, is officially dead. As of March 28th, 2023, there is now no reason to purchase a Nintendo 3DS line of system, as buying games for it is just way too expensive. Dear God! I have a family! Now you might be saying, JAMm, why March 28th, 2023 specifically? Well, that was the first day when the 3DS and the Wii U eShops went offline for good. The day that went down in history as the rapture for people who don't leave their houses was naturally a pretty big deal to me. So now that Nintendo has stopped supporting everything to do with the DS line, I thought it'd be kind of fun to look back at it all and see what the f is a DS. Let me cast your mind all the way back to E3 2004, where the GOAT himself, Reggie Fils-Aimé, went up to a stage of investors and press and said the famous words,
Peggle 2!
The Nintendo DS was revolutionary. It took the core concept of the Game Boy, that being a game console that you can take on the go, and improved it in every single aspect. It was smaller, more powerful, and it had 2 screens! 2 screens! Forget the Xbox, forget the PS5, forget everything you know and love and care about. You can now see Mario twice! We've officially reached the peak of evolution. The DS launched in America and Japan during the festive period of 2004. Australia got it in 2005, and Europe finally got the DS on a random day in March in 2005. And to say that these were selling like hotcakes would be an understatement. The DS is one of the fastest selling systems of all time. In fact, the DS line of systems is literally the second highest selling system of all time. The DS launched with 15 games, but some of the standouts include Mario 64 DS, Mario Kart DS, and Feel the Magic XXXY, also known as Project Rub in Europe and Australia. Feel the Magic was a game made by Sonic Team for some bizarre reason, where you try to gaslight some poor woman into falling in love with you with help of some random creeps. The DS was really cool because it had 2 screens! And it was backwards compatible with the Game Boy Advance, meaning you could play your GBA games on your DS, meaning that by the end of the DS's life, you had 2 libraries of games you could play through. The DS was my first proper game console that I owned, and because I was a stupid baby idiot child, I didn't know what was good and what was garbage. Madagascar cards? Yeah, that's better than Mario Kart DS. Why would I even need any other racing game? Well, I love my DS. Looking back, I did mainly have a bunch of shovelware for that system, which begs the question, why was there so much garbage? The Wii experienced a similar issue, and so does the Switch eShop nowadays. But like, Jesus, man! Here's a short list of shovelware games that I found online. Why was there so many Pets games? Another thing that was pretty common in this generation of consoles was plastic add-ons for games. Okay, what the hell is that? As well as general trash, the DS had a few system refreshes during its life, such as the DS Lite, an even smaller DS that is probably the best DS out of the whole line. They were cheaper, removed unnecessary bunk from the systems, and could play both DS and GBA games, much like the original. But you know what couldn't? The DSi. But to make up for that, the DSi had a camera! Yes! Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of this as a concept. I like the idea of a DS Pro, but name one game that needs the DSi camera. I'll wait. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, apparently you could show your face on an in-game wristband if you had the camera facing you. I'm sorry I asked. But the one cool thing the DSi had going for it was an eShop full of exclusive games for the DSi. So take that, DS Lite losers. Go back to playing baby games like the Pixar Up game by THQ. I'll be over here playing Mario vs. Donkey Kong Minis March again. By this point, the DS line was on shelves for about 6 years, so people were wondering, when's the next one? By this point, Sony had joined the handheld scene with the PSP, an extremely popular competitor to the DS. Around this time, rumors were high about a 3D DS model that would be as powerful as a Wii. All eyes were on Nintendo at E3 2010. Then Nintendo dropped the nuclear announcement that they were making, get this, the 3DS, a DS that would utilize a 3D display. This announcement caused many to promptly go, no shit. and then complained that the 3D would make their eyes hurt. The 3DS launched between February and March of 2011 for every region, and it kind of flopped at the start. The system initially cost $250, and considering how many games were on the system at the time, as well as the Wii U-esque name, the slow pickup was more than understandable. Nothing screams buy me more than Steel Diver. This caused Nintendo to slash the price almost instantly, from a harsh $250 to a nicer $169. Obviously, the price drop annoyed some early adopters, so they were given a buttload of free classic games, such as Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. The 3DS had a bunch of phenomenal games on it. Mario 3D Land, Pokemon Sun and Moon, a remaster of Ocarina of Time, Smash Bros. For 3DS, and like at least 10 more games. However, the 3DS introduced something else to the greater public that most models of the DS didn't. An eShop. While the DSi did have an eShop, not a lot of people had a DSi. The 3DS eShop was very cool because it would let you get demos of games, virtual console games, which basically meant a bunch of 2D games from the NES to Game Boy Advance, as well as some free and free-to-play titles. The eShop was a magical place, which in true Nintendo fashion had a theme song. I'm willing to bet that this definitely caused people to buy products. I didn't get a 3DS, ever, actually, because I was scared of 3D as a kid. So for scared little like me, Nintendo introduced this. This brick is an original model 2DS. The year is 2013. I was a wee 9-year-old lad who loved their DS. And when I say loved, I mean I was practically glued to the thing. So when my DS broke in October of 2013, my mum asked me if I really wanted a new DS or the brand new at the time 3DS. And I said normal DS because I didn't like the idea of things coming out of the screen. But luckily for me, my mum was super smart and cool and awesome, and I love her. She found out that they were making a 2D version of the 3DS and asked me if I wanted that instead. And I said yes without skipping a heartbeat. Not only did I accidentally save my mum a wee bit of money that year, but I got a system that I still use to this day. Something I can't say the same about the Xbox or the Wii. I also got Pokemon X that year, and call me biased, but that game has some of the best new Pokemon in the entire franchise. I also got Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D, and I'll be brutally honest, I can count the amount of hours I've played that game with one hand. For most of my 2DS's life, it was nothing more than the Pokemon machine. However, I did get Tomodachi Life, which is an absolute banger. As time went on, the 3DS line got one more console refresh in the new 2D and 3DS systems. These were the DSi's of the 3DS, but they were actually designed sleeker, had more memory, they were more powerful, and were bigger because by that point, phones had taken over and 6-inch displays became the norm. I never got the new series because, well, I didn't really see a reason to, but the new series got so many better looking special versions. I absolutely adore the Animal Crossing one. Now there is something I want to bring up, but I couldn't find a natural place to put it, so here's me inserting this thing. Cool. Now for you to understand why this is such an oddity, we first need to learn about China's weird history with video games. So traditionally, the Chinese government has seen video games as nothing more as a way for young people to ruin their futures. This can be traced since arcade machines were first popping up in China. But from 2000 to 2015, the Chinese government had put a ban on video games, consoles, and online games that were imported from outside of China. Now there were some exceptions, like the PS2 and iQue. Now you might be asking, what's iQue? iQue was Nintendo importing their systems into China under a different name. So China did end up getting the DS and 3DS, however the iQue DS game library was literally just Nintendogs, due to it being an educational tool and totally not a video game. There was a whopping total of 6 games for the iQue DS, and 2 of them were actual video games. There was also an iQue version of the 3DS XL, with 2 games actually made for the Chinese market, and 10 Western games that just happened to have simplified Chinese translated. Now you might be saying, why don't they just get imported games? The iQue system only worked with iQue games for the most part, unless the games had simplified Chinese on them, in which case, it's fair game. They're the only systems that are hard locked by Nintendo, and I think that's pretty cool. By 2016, Nintendo had slowed down support for the 3DS and Wii U, as they were getting ready for their new system, and by 2019, they had stopped making games for the 3DS. On September 16th, 2020, Nintendo announced that they were no longer making new 3DS systems, and later on announced the closure of the eShop, putting the final nail in the coffin. As of March 28th, 2023, you are no longer able to purchase things from the 3DS eShop. I never really owned any of the must-have titles for the 3DS, so I saw this as a final chance to really get some of the games I've always thought about getting, as their prices will never be lower from here. I picked up Animal Crossing New Leaf, Rhythm Heaven, and Bye Bye Box Boy. For the cheapest they will probably be. While I got those games from the eShop, I also picked up Nintendogs second hand from a used game store chain last year, as well as 3D Land and Ocarina of Time 3D more recently. And I have to say, I feel foolish for not doing this sooner. This system truly had a stellar lineup of games that I just neglected for some reason. I think this era of Nintendo was really bizarre, because frankly, they made some of their best games with basically no one playing them. In all fairness to Nintendo, they supported the 3DS line for a good 2 years before giving all of their focus to the Switch. And while I do somewhat understand why they did still support the 3DS, I also totally don't, because the Switch was an instant success that outsold the Wii U within a few weeks. Some later 3DS titles would have fit right at home on the Switch, and I think it's strange they opted to put these on 3DS rather than their new system. While the 3DS wasn't as massive as the DS, it was still a massive system that over 75 million people got to experience. Now we live in a world where the DS line as a whole is gone. While I didn't play on it as much in its later years, the DS line as a whole gave me hundreds, if not thousands of hours of entertainment, along with literally millions of other people. So thank you DS, you were pretty cool. Well, let me know what your favorite memory of the DS is in the comments. I probably won't read them, but still put them down there anyways for a wee giggle. Well, thanks for watching. I'm still JAMm, and I'll see you later. Bye!